Bold predictions for 2022. That's today's video. We did one last year and made some pretty outrageous claims for 2021. We're going to do it again this year, Fat Man Zoom. For everybody who's watching, welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. That is Fat Man Zoom. The stock market is crazy and chaotic. We made it our mission to help you guys own it. And Fat Man Zoom, my bold prediction for 2022 is Solana is the new player in town that's actually going to outperform Ethereum and Bitcoin. And I think that that's going to be something as that continues to get adopted in popularity and the momentum surrounding around the Solana. I think, in my opinion, probably does outperform those two major players in the crypto space next year.
Yeah, Solana looks good. One that I think people are looking at as an alternative to Ethereum performs similarly, nearly 500%, just like Ethereum this year. And they both blew Bitcoin out of the water. Mine also goes down that path, but I say that Ethereum outperforms Bitcoin again. It wasn't even close in the past year. They were at 490%. Ethereum was. Bitcoin was at 94%. So not sure how bold that is, but beyond that, I'm going to say that Ethereum goes to 10K.
Okay. All right. So Ethereum doubling again this year.
Yes, sir. My next bold prediction is regarding the FANG. I've ranked the FANG. This is how I think they're going to perform, from best performer to, I don't want to say worst performer because I think they're going to do well. I have Facebook leading the pack, Meta platforms, Alphabet, Google, Apple, Amazon, and Netflix pulling up the rear. And I'm going to add something to that, the FANG. Microsoft outperforms all FANG next year.
That's pretty bold, especially given how Apple has performed literally over the last decade. But certainly think it's potentially possible. My next one is going to be that the S&P 500 cracks $5,300 this coming year in 2020. Now, or 2022. So I think that just to set the stage here, I understand it is only a 10% gain, but given the fact that we saw some crazy economic contraction in 2020 and 21, I think that 2022 actually ends up being a little bit more of an underperforming type of year. I think that 10% actually is a little bit of a stretch. We'll see, especially as the Fed continues to do their thing and people start to try to navigate through interest rate hikes and that sort of thing. But that's my prediction for 2022 on the S&P 500.
Speaking of the S&P 500, I brought a stock that I think is going to outperform the S&P 500. Again, these are bold predictions, so this is incredibly bold. I think Twitter outperforms the S&P 500 next year. Ooh. New CEO. I think we see some fresh changes, and we've talked about this. Twitter's model is incredible. They just haven't learned to monetize it. Will this be the year they learn to monetize it? Twitter outperforms S&P.
Yeah, some interesting things there as far as Twitter's concerned, especially with like how they've been trying to monetize. There's been a lot of head scratchers for sure. So hopefully they get that figured out. If they do, I think so too. That'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. My next one is going to be that the Fed only issues one rate hike. Now, general consensus is that there are going to be 3 rate hikes this year. You're seeing that on headlines all over the place. I'm going to take the contrary approach here. I think that we are going to see some inflation that sticks. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if wages are going down. That's certainly not going to happen. And rent, I don't think that goes down either. So a lot of that stuff is sticky, but I think there's a lot of deflationary issues going on. And I think that that's going to make for a good topic for another video as to why I think that is. But because of that, I think that we only see maybe one rate hike this year. And a lot of people might be surprised by that, but that's kind of where I stand as far as the Fed's concerned this year.
I like that. Next, we have one of your the stocks you like, Square, which is now called Block. I actually group PayPal and Block together. They both had a great run in 2020. They've been beaten down of recent, hopefully making a comeback. We both like it where it sits now. PayPal and Block, I think they both hit $300, which is not a foregone conclusion, especially because we don't know what the how that's going to react to the interest environment. And they're still tech companies. Let's not forget that. So right. PayPal and Block both reached $300.
I like that. My next one, Fat Man Zoom, is going to be interesting because I'm not sure a lot of people actually realize this, especially the diehard Tesla owners. And so we got our first Tesla related bold prediction in this video so far, and that is related to Ford and how Ford actually outperformed Tesla this year by a lot. Ford doubled, over more than doubled this year, and I think that they stand to potentially outperform. I think the stock outperforms Tesla this year yet again. So a lot of that surrounding around the Ford Lightning and how well that does, and some of the other stuff they have going on with the Mach-E and what have you. But they're starting to creep into China too. So I think there's potential for Ford to outperform Tesla yet again this year for a second year in a row.
I'll stick with the EVs and I'll stick with our friend Tesla. We did a prediction last year, came pretty damn close to deliveries. We said 1 million vehicles. It looks like they're going to come just shy of that. This year, I predict Tesla deliveries at 1.25 million vehicles. Will be the first year that they hit 1 million vehicles. Will be huge with them. And this is a key part. Cybertruck won't be in any of those deliveries in 2022. So we go another year, and I don't think we see Cybertruck.
That's going to be really disappointing for for a lot of Cybertruck people who ordered the Cybertruck for sure. I can't wait to see one of those things on the road just to see what they look like. But yeah, that would suck.
Well, we're still waiting on the Roadster and the Semi, so we'll see when those come too.
I know. Bold prediction indeed. My next one, Fat Man Zoom, is a repeat for bold predictions, and that's going to be that Amazon finally does a split. It's going to stay on bold predictions until it happens, I guess, at this point. But I think they do a split. I'll be more specific. I think they're going to do a 10-1 split this year. It's got to happen this year, Fat Man Zoom. A lot of the other big cap techs have done it, and I just don't know what Amazon's waiting for at this point. I think that if they do that, it's going to bring in a lot of new investors. Amazon does it this year, finally.
I think Alphabet's due as well. They need to do that. They'd be smart to do that, sitting nearly at $3,000 a share. I'll give my bold prediction for Amazon. This year, or in 2022, Amazon buys a smaller streaming platform. And listen, if they buy anyone, I'll be correct. But I think the best one that's right for the picking would be Fubo TV. For Amazon, I think it makes a lot of sense, especially because of their partnership with the NFL.
I like that, especially with what they have going on with Twitch. It only makes sense to kind of like have that as part of their ecosystem. It certainly makes a lot of sense to me as well. Tesla, going back to Tesla here, the Model Y. Now, Elon Musk went out on a limb in the second quarter earnings report of this past year, and talked about how the Model Y in 2022 will become the #1 selling vehicle in the world, period. Not just EVs, all cars. I'm gonna get on the bandwagon here with Elon and say that yes, that actually happens. The Model Y becomes the #1 selling vehicle in the world in 2022. I thought that Elon was crazy for making this claim in the second quarter of this past year in 2021. I think that this, in my opinion, is bold even now. So I'm gonna stick by Elon on this one and say that the Model Y becomes the #1 car in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredibly bold. It seems kind of at odds with your other prediction with Ford, because if Model Y does become the #1 selling vehicle, you would think that means that their numbers are outrageous. And I mean, their stock should potentially outperform anybody else.
Potentially, but I got another one for Ford why I think that's going to continue to rock and roll too. So just stay tuned.
All right. Shifting gears to online sports betting. You guys know we love our online sports betting. Fat Man Zoom favorite. I think MGM leads the way in the online sports betting sector. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be #1 because I still think DraftKings and FanDuel will take the cake. But I think as far as performance-wise, I think that MGM is poised to continue to dominate. And we've talked about this. Because of their brick and mortar, all they really need to do is be in third place. And so I still see tremendous upside for MGM. I think it's going to be a great year for them next year.
Who you got first and second?
I have FanDuel and DraftKings.
DraftKings is second. I was curious. I thought maybe it would be DraftKings, but yeah, I don't know if I disagree. What's that?
Not performance-wise, though, just sheer revenue generated.
Yeah. I think there's definitely some plausible reasoning as to why that might be happening. My next one, before we get into it, guys, is want you guys to hit that thumbs up button. If you're enjoying this so far, if you think our bold predictions are indeed bold, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Leave some comments down below. Let us know what you guys think about this so far. But my next one, Fat Man Zoom, is going to be Boeing becomes the highest performing Dow component in the index. Now, it's been red this year. It was red last year. I think this year they finally turn it around. And that's a pretty bold prediction, if I do say so myself. We got like other Dow components that were up 40% this year. You look at American Express and Apple and some of the other ones that had monster years. Apple was up 34% on the year, and it came in clutch in the home stretch here. But I think that Boeing certainly does it. They've projected increases in production. They're already following through with some of the increases in production this year, and I think that they follow through with it this coming year as well. While the economy continues to get itself back on track, I think that Boeing could potentially report a positive earnings quarter of earnings this year. And if that happens, the stock should go off. And with industrials kind of been in the penalty box over the last 2 years, I think it's their time to shine. And Boeing is obviously one of the big players here. It's a duopoly. It's Boeing 1, Airbus 2, and I think Boeing finally does it this year.
Yeah, I like Boeing and Spirit more so than I like the airlines. I mean, I think that airlines have talked about this potentially, like there's this lag, even though the airlines might be back. We're seeing Omicron is kind of taking a hit on some things. I think revenues are certainly going to be hit, so it may take towards the tail end of the year. But if you got a manufacturer, that's the place to be. So I like that call. Next, I have oil. I don't even know that this is bold now that I'm reading it, but you've said this, and I'm going to state it. Oil closes the year above $100 a barrel. Maybe not that bold, but certainly bodes well for the oil stocks.
Yeah. I think that might actually be almost on the conservative side at this point. But I agree. I think that $100 oil is certainly on its way. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot that's going to be stopping it for sure. My next one, Fat Man Zoom, is a very interesting one too. Squid Game came in at 1.65 billion views in the first 28 days for Netflix. The stock went up 20% in the days following that over the next 2 months, which I thought was just an incredible move for a FANG stock that they just don't do that in that time frame. So I thought that was incredible. This year, they will put out a series that achieves 2 billion in 28 days, which will send the stock going crazy yet again.
Do you think Netflix online gaming gains any traction in 2022, or do you think we're a couple years out?
I think we're a couple years out. It's a little premature for that yet, but they're certainly making strides in that side of things. I'd be curious to see if they actually start to move towards a metaverse type environment, like we're seeing with Roblox and stuff. Are they going to continue to go that route as well? But yeah, I think they're a little bit off the mark just for right now.
All right, my number 9. Banks win the year. We talk a lot about tech. I think banks win the year. I think they crush it. And honestly, I think you throw a dart at any one of them, and I think they're going to do well. We talk about Goldman Sachs. Fundamentally, it's still very, very low. I think Bank of America could crush it this year. Really, anyone you guys like, but banks, they're going to be the talk. They're going to crush it.
Yeah, I think so too. I almost had, and it's funny that my last bold prediction here before we get into it, guys, I actually had one of the banks, JP Morgan, potentially hitting $1 trillion market cap this year, which means that the stock could double. I think it's certainly achievable, especially in the environment that we're getting ready to go into with interest rate hikes and that sort of thing. So I like that a lot. Before we get into this last one, guys, make sure you guys are going to the links down in the description below and go to ownthechaos.com. We put out a watch list every single day before the market opens. We give you 5 stocks to keep your eye on that we think might have potential for some moves either that day or even in the near future. So guys, make sure to go down to ownthechaos.com. We'd love to have you guys there to help support the channel. My last one here, Fat Man Zoom, is that not just one, but three companies hit $1 trillion market cap this year in 2022. And I even gave you the stocks that I think will do it. It's going to be Facebook, it's going to be Nvidia, and it's going to be Visa. Now, Visa would have to double this year. Facebook would have to come close to that. And Nvidia, obviously, we're at around $750 billion, so it's not too far from that. And Facebook is somewhere around there anyway. But either way, those are some pretty big moves out of all 3 of those stocks, but I think they certainly can do it.
All right. My last one, and then I got a couple of rapid fire questions. So, guys, make sure you stick around. My last one is Target. Now, Target leads the sector. I really wanted to put Walmart, and I do feel like Walmart has upside, but everything Target's doing just gives me optimism. Their partnerships with Ulta, their partnership with Apple, how they're developing their stores, I think that's going to continue to sort of widen the gap. And I think Target continues to have a great year. I really like that stock. And that are our top 10 predictions, but I got some rapid fire ones. I'm going to start with this one. You may not know this. A lot of people don't know this. And you said earlier you were surprised about my Microsoft prediction. Did you know that Microsoft has had 9 straight green years?
I did not.
Yeah. So actually, now the past 2 years, Apple has outperformed them on each basis. But if you look, their winning streak is longer than Apple. So my question is, will it be a 10th straight winning year for Microsoft?
Yes.
Okay, that was a toss-up.
Yeah.
Hot topic of the year. What is everybody going to be talking about? So this year, 2021, I think it's safe to say, you could say EVs, but really towards the end, it's metaverse, it's NFTs. What are people going to be talking about next year?
I think what people will be talking about next year will be finally sports betting. We just saw Pat McAfee nail down a $30 million deal. So as this continues to gain traction, I think 2022 could be a big year for sports betting, especially as we get COVID behind us. Fingers crossed. That I think that could be a big topic of discussion in 2022.
All right. Next rapid fire question. What's the leading sector next year?
Highest performing sector next year, I think, will be the industrials. I mentioned that before with Boeing. I think that the industrials have taken such a back seat, and they really haven't participated in the rebound quite like everything else has after the crash in 2020. So I think industrials actually end up leading the sector going into next year.
Top 3 highest conviction stocks. And I want you to give me price targets on those with them.
Ooh, okay. My highest
conservative. You don't have to be bold.
All right. My highest convictions are Ford. I think Ford sees $26, $27 a share in 2022. Wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, and wouldn't be shocked if we saw 30, but that's my target there. My next one is going to be Airbnb. I think Airbnb is gonna consistently show that they can be profitable, and we already saw a record quarter yet again in the third quarter, and we're not even back to the way that things used to be as far as travel and vacations and stuff like that's concerned. So I think Airbnb is going to be a big one next year. I actually sold out of it, but plan to be back in it going into 2022. And then I think finally it's going to be either Boeing or Spirit Air Systems. Either one of those, I think they're going to do really well next year too. And so with Boeing, I think I forgot to give Airbnb's price target. I think Airbnb will see around 230, 240 in 2022. Boeing, I think it goes back to $300 a share in 2022.
Nice. Good stuff. And for shits and giggles, where do you think Tesla ends the year next year?
Great question. So I think Tesla still has a great year. It's just gotten so far ahead of itself that, fundamentally it makes no sense. It hasn't made sense for quite some time. So who knows? Maybe it won't make sense again this coming year. But I think that if it does have a little bit more of a consolidating type of year, even with some of the numbers they might be cranking out as far as EV sales are concerned, I could see Tesla hitting $1,500 to $1,600 by the end of 2022.
Ooh, okay. That's
still a good year.
Yeah, there's still 35% upside.
Yeah.
My only issue there is, buddy, if those numbers hit, Tesla outperformed Ford.
Is that math wrong on that?
Well, yeah. They're close.
Okay.
If Ford hits 30, then Ford will outperform.
Okay.
But guys, those are our bold predictions. Throw yours in the comments. I mean, listen, this is just fun, but we will hold ourselves accountable at the end of the year. If you throw yours in the comment, we're going to hold you accountable as well. What's your bold prediction? Which one do you guys agree with, disagree with, or we didn't talk about? That's all we have. Make sure you tune in live every Monday through Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, and Stock Watch Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Brad, that's all I got.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. As always, we'll see y'all before the bell. Make sure you join us in our next live stream Monday through Thursday at 3:30 p.m. And we'll see you later.
Bye.